because you're a professional student for life, basically, because technology just changes. I mean, I've been around, like I said, for over 30 years, and things just changed constantly. So what are we going to talk about tonight? We're going to talk about what is a hackathon, right? So some of you guys know what it is, some guys don't know what it is, but basically a hackathon is really like a meetup, and it's all about solving some kind of a problem, right? And we'll talk about that as we go, about the different projects that you can do and different things you can do at a hackathon. Usually a hackathon is not 2 hours, but I went ahead and put it 2 hours because I did my first hackathon and it was like 3 hours. So normally these are like weekend events and they go for like 2 days, and it's sponsored, it's big event, right? So mine was a little small one. It's more intimate, like you guys here. So for instance, we would set, you guys would bring laptops and we'd have servers to log into, and we'd go over some kind of a project. So we'd probably break down into like, groups of 3 to 5 people, and it's really all about, working together to solve a problem, right? And the main thing about it is you want to have fun. It's all about having fun. If you're not having fun, then you shouldn't be there. So it's a cool learning event, and it's a great way to network. It's a great way to meet people, and it's low cost because most of these things are sponsored events, so it's usually free to you. But I know that there are some out there that have small fees and they have big prizes like $10,000 or something like that, right? But for a grassroots small community like this here, you just want to have fun and make it fun for everybody, and so you usually get a sponsor and pizza and beer or something like that, right? So hackathons, people say they don't go to them because they're scary. There's nothing scary about going to hackathon. I mean, it's basically a party, and it's a learning type of party. It's a great event. You meet people from all places in life, right? You got people who are subject matter experts, they're developers who have written, outstanding pieces of code, and you have people like me who show up, and I've never coded a day in my life, so I'm not a coder. I'm an infrastructure kind of guy, servers and networks, basically the core infrastructure stuff. But like I was telling you guys, old dogs need to learn tricks because, all this stuff with DevOps and where everything's going today, you need to really understand about coding and how that works, and what the new buzzword, I guess, is infrastructure as code. So it's really all about, instead of ordering a server and setting it up, getting plugged in your network, getting applications, it can take forever. It can take up to 3 to 6 months depending on your buying cycle and the people that you have. And where this infrastructure as code kind of stuff is like, stuff that you get from Amazon or Google or any big cloud service provider, where, you give them a credit card and within 30 minutes you got your own lab and everything's up and running, right? So a hackathon really helps you understand all those buzzwords and those things that are going, and then you're working on projects at the same time. So it's, like I said, it's a real cool learning event, so it's not scary at all. So forget about the scary stuff, and you don't need to be a developer, because like I said, I'm not a developer, and I already ran my first hackathon. So, I mean, it's really about, getting people who are excited about community and excited about IT and projects and doing stuff. And it's just, like I said, the main thing is to have fun. The other thing is, people say that, imposter syndrome. How come you went to a hackathon, or why can you go to a hackathon if you don't even know how to program, right? So it's really all about, having fun and learning. I mean, the big key that I want you to get out of this thing is two things, right? Is really have fun and learn. And some of these subject matter experts that are developers that I'm telling you, they go to these hackathons, they don't even, some of the projects that they do is stretch goals for them because they're learning a new language or a new technology that they haven't done before. Okay, granted they have the developer knowledge and they know another language, but they learn other things at these things, and at the same time then they can serve as mentors. Go ahead, you had a question?
I was going to say another myth, this being my first one, I always thought hackathons were about getting into the Pentagon and running from the cops.
Yes, so it's not that.
Because you didn't get arrested when you did it, right?
That's something I need to add to my bullets there. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask questions. I mean, this is a learning event. It's a learning experience. So don't be afraid to ask questions. And there's no dumb questions, and questions aren't annoying, right? It's a learning experience for everybody. And the other thing is, some people say they don't want to go because they don't know anybody, you know, and they're shy or timid. So if that's your case, then invite a friend to go with you. But the whole point of going to a hackathon is to meet and network with people and learn and have fun. So some things that I think that you should take advantage of. And some of the best practices, you know, since I did just run a hackathon here in December, and so some of the things is you need to define your projects. And so, you know, you need to find, I mean, like I said, every time you want to go to these things, you have projects, right? And those projects can be, you know, depending on how many people you got. I mean, in ours in December, we came up, I think, with like 3, and I'll show you some of the examples, but we had like 3 different projects, and we had like over 20 people signed up, but at the end of the day, we only had like 10 that showed up. And so we actually just broke up into 2 groups and had the 2 groups work on one project, right? And so we were fortunate enough, though, that we had 2 subject matter experts there, and so we were able to learn from them, and we were also able to participate. So, I mean, these are all, you know, good things, great things to do, and to make sure that you have realistic goals, right? So, you know, I read somewhere, and you know, or I actually have it here, that sometimes, you know, the majority of these projects don't get done in the hackathon themselves. So you want to have something that's more realistic, and you want to have something that's simple, and then you want to have something that has stretch goals. So you want to have something that you can accomplish and feel like you accomplished something in that period of time where you were working, and then if you finish early and you so you don't get bored, you have these stretch goals, and these stretch goals are, you know, a little bit more in depth on what you're trying to do, right? And so you want to make hackathons easier for newcomers also. So a lot of times I'll have like these little prerequisites or training events right before the hackathon starts. And so like before ours started, we started doing GitHub. I don't know if you guys are familiar with GitHub, but that's a repository where you check in your code, and also we have several tools that I'm going to talk about as you know further on. But there's a lot of tools out there that you can use, that you can leverage, that will help make things easier for you. And so there we go. I mentioned the GitHub there. The other thing is to have, you know, a great team. I have some SMEs. Like I said, I had 2 great experts at my hackathon, which made things really easy for me. And sometimes at these larger ones, you want to have mentors, and you want to have helpers, you know, for these larger events. But in our case, it was a small event, so we didn't need that much, right? And so, and the other thing is to organize the teams, so that you can balance the teams out right. So you have an expert, and you have a new person, and then you have somebody in the middle, right? So you want to have these teams composed so that you have a good mix, and so that everybody can contribute and you don't get lost, right? And the other thing is coordinating the work amongst the group so that the newcomer can feel that he's contributing as well. And so ours was the DFW Hackathon. We did it in December. We did it, and the whole reason I did this and the whole thing that I got it started was I went to VMworld this year. This was my second year at VMworld, and I went to this hackathon because it gave some classes, like I said, so you didn't have to know about coding, because I was under the impression that you had to be a developer or a coder to go to these events. Why, you know, and then I saw that you don't have to do that, right? So I went to one of the sessions where they gave you a little a prequel of what they were going to do in the lab, so that they could prepare you for it. And they had like 4 different breakout sessions that you could go to choose which project you wanted to work on, right? And so I did that, and then at the hackathon itself, I didn't actually participate because I was still shy and timid, right? So, but I did go as, you know, just as a fan, and to go drink some beer and have fun, and to, you know, make everybody, you know, push them, and, you know, make sure everybody was having a good time and having fun, right? And so it's great. It's great. Like I said, it's a great collaboration. It's a great learning experience. So right after that, I was thinking about and throwing around the idea of doing it for Dallas. And so a friend of mine beat me to the punch. He's because I'm also belong to another group called the V Brown Bag, and V Brown Bag Latin America. And he, my colleague, he's up in Pittsburgh, and he had a hackathon, and so he threw down the gauntlet. So I said, well, now I got to do mine. So it was, you know, just a competitive thing that you do with friends, right? So he had his, so I figured I got to do mine. So that's how I got inspired by both the VMworld Hackathon plus my friend throwing down the gauntlet there. So fortunately enough, one of the co-leaders with me on the Dallas VMUG, he's works at UTD, and he was able to get us a couple of rooms there so that we could run our hackathon at UTD. And then also we had sponsors, and we had VMware sponsor it. So, you know, Ryan Clare of VMware, he actually helped sponsor the event, you know, for dinner and the drinks, and as you know, where we're going. So it's all about, you know, having fun, and you know, and then also I had Troy Lindsay. Troy Lindsay is also a VMUG member, and he was the leader, or the other captain. And so it worked out really well, and we had a lot of fun. So the lessons learned are the things that you know, like I can't overemphasize, you have to have fun, right? And the other thing is shit happens, okay? I tried getting this thing to go back basically in October, and then it went to November, and then finally it worked out in December. So I mean, you have to align the stars, you know, because you have to get a venue, you got to get a sponsor, and then, you know, we actually got kicked out of our first venue because they were moving, and so we weren't able, so we had to find another place to go. But what I'm saying is, if you're passionate about it, and it's something you want to do, you can make it happen, and it'll happen. It's just be positive, and number one, have fun. If you're not having fun, you know, then go do something else. So, and then like I said, find some you know, passionate organizers, people to help you. You know, being part of this VMware, we joined the VMware Code Slack channel, and underneath the Slack channel, we created our own channel for the DFW VMUG so that we could communicate. And then the other thing I did is, you know, I started blogging about it and posting on LinkedIn and Facebook and telling people about our hackathon so we could get, you know, some more participants. And so, and the other thing is to decide on how you're going to communicate as a team within yourself, and how you're going to communicate at the event, right? So a lot of stuff, you know, we put on Slack, and we also use Google Docs to have some things on there so that we could communicate and show direction for the people who were in the different groups and the different teams, right? So I'll show you some examples of that also. So I didn't know if I was going to have Wi-Fi or not, but this is Ryan Clare on the top, and then this is Troy Lindsay. Those are the two guys that helped me on mine. So this is basically my blog where I blogged about it and about what we did. So you can go to m1labs.co and you can, all the links of all the information and all the tools and what we did and stuff that I'm talking about tonight is really all in there, right? So you can get a good summary, and I talk about the 10 things to consider when you do it that I just went over. The other thing is, here's the VMware code. So we had to join the VMware code, and then underneath that we created our own group called the DFW Hackathon. And so we were doing all our communications for our planning in that section, and the actual work was done in this other one called the Team Conductor. So in the Team Conductor is where we actually did all our work, and we it's a little bit slow here, but you can put a lot of stuff in here and share files, and you can show your members. So this is a little bit slow, but anyways, for members you would see we had 20 members, and then for the shared files, it was the shared files that we used for running the hackathon. And then the other thing was, I did blog about it several times. Like I said, we tried to start it back in October. That was the first time. If you read this blog here, the VMware code one, that's the one that talks about VMworld, and this one here talks about participating in it. And then over here, I started planning, and like I said, it has everything in here about what we did, so you can check it out. And the other thing is, since we are part of the VMUG, like I said, we posted on our VMUG website, and that's how we had people register for the event. And so had all the information of where the event was, how to register for it, how to get a parking pass, and all that type of information, and then where you can find us on the different social media sites also, because I also did post this in all of them, right? So I posted on the Twitter, the Google+, the LinkedIn's, the Facebook, and so it's just going out there and having a good time. So we also did use SurveyMonkey, so we wanted to find out, what day was a good day for everybody to do this. What kind of food did you want to eat at the hackathon, things like that. So we did do a SurveyMonkey. The other thing is that we did is this is basically our GitHub. So if you wanted to go to the GitHub and find out more about what we did, it's the links will be in my blog. If you can go check that out, and it'll give you over to the Conductor, which is our GitHub, and then right here we basically talk about what our project was and what we did. So basically it was monitoring alerts, VMware alerts, in an application called Insight. And so if we saw a virtual machine that was going to go bad or was taking too many resources or something like that, it would basically send out an alert, and from that alert then we would have it send out a text message to whoever the support people were. So that was what we kind of wrote out, right? And we did also use containers, we used Docker. So what I'm saying is, the guys that were there, which were our experts, one of them, he was running the container. Troy was, and Troy hadn't never played with containers before, and the guys in his group had not. But so that's what I'm saying. It's really it helps you learn on the fly. It helps you grow, helps you figure out things, and then it's always good to have somebody there who knows about it. So, it's all about teamwork, it's all about working together and having fun. So, you know, we had a great time. This is my Google Drive on there, so we had the hackathon, and that's where we posted our stuff. And what I wanted to say is on the Google Drive, we actually did have everything in here, you know, where to register, where it was at, you know, the goals. And as you can see, we had 3 goals here. The thing was to have fun, to learn, and then build something cool. So that's the one I left off, right? So this was our agenda, and like I said, we only did ours for like 3 hours, and we had food afterwards, and like I said, we did have some prerequisites. So we sent out some links for people to go learn about GitHub and how that works, and we explained to them how to join Slack so they could get in the Slack channel so we could communicate with them. Those are mainly the tools that we used. And as you can see here, the #1 hack idea that we worked on was this one here, this IFTTT, right? So this was all about using VMware's log inside alert and alerts and triggers and sending text messages to a phone. So it sounds pretty simple, but it was really complex, right? And then, as you can see, to get that thing working first, and then we had our stretch goals. So we didn't have enough time to even start the stretch goals, but that's what I'm talking about. If we would have knocked it out and we had more time, then we would have started on the stretch goals. So, I mean, and you know, the things that we used, we use containers, we use Python, and we used something called Clarity. And so these are some of the things that we had for people to go check out and go understand how that works, right? And so, like for this team, the thing is also understand who's going to be on the team and which project they want to work on and what kind of skills they got, so that you can mix and match people, so you can have a balanced team, so it can be a good experience for everybody. So let's see, where's this thing go right here? So now, let's see. Oh, the other thing was do a dry run, right? So you want to make sure that everything works, so that when you start your hackathon, that stuff is working. Because you know, depending on where you're at, sometimes stuff just doesn't work, right? And so, for instance, at the VMworld one, they had everything working. They did their dry run, but it was so popular, there was too many people, and they didn't really have enough bandwidth for the network, and so they ran into some issues on connectivity and stuff like that. So, you know, those things, you know, it just takes time to figure those things out and figure out those bugs, right? So the more, so that's why we did our dry run also, to make sure that everything was working and that we have a good experience. And the bonus that we had was we all brought our laptops, but we didn't have to do stuff on our laptop. We were able to log into VMware's servers in the sky, in the cloud, right? So we had pre-set up environments, so we didn't have to do a lot of that legwork stuff of setting up the environment before we could start actually, you know, doing our stuff, right? Actually starting the hackathon. So, you know, all those things are things that you need to consider. And I know I've been talking a lot, and y'all have any questions on, you know, on any thing about it? I mean, did it make sense? I mean, you know, like I said, you don't have to be a coder, you don't have to be a developer, and you can go learn a lot of cool stuff. And it's like I said, it's good networking, and then it's good to help you learn stuff that you hadn't done before. So it's all a bunch of goodness. So I really enjoyed it, and I liked it. You had a question there, Mike?
How would you define a good, never mind.
Go ahead.
With the project that you were working on, have you guys progressed at all since then? Has anybody kept working on the project and completing it, or is it kind of in GitHub and
It's a little bit of both, right? So actually, we didn't finish the project, and we did run into some issues, and the guys, after the hackathon, went back and they worked on it, and they got it working. So once they got it working, it kind of died there, but, so we didn't go do the other stretch goals, but we did get done what we were trying to do and make it work, right? And then after the fact, like anything, there was things that they figured out, well, you know, we could have done it this way, or we could have done it that way, or it would have been a lot easier if we would have done this or that or the other, right? So hindsight is always, go ahead.
So in your example, it was kind of VMware based. Are most hackathons vendor agnostic, or is it a place where a vendor can showcase use case scenarios?
It depends on the hackathon. I mean, there's hackathons there's like a ladies hackathon out there, so there's college hackathons, there's high school hackathons. I mean, like at the high school type of level hackathon, it's really all about people meeting and coding and people not really knowing how to code, right? And so at places like that, you want to have a lot, you know, since it's larger venue, right? You want to have helpers and mentors, and then you want to have a captain on the team.
But I'm asking you about the vendor, actually. So the question is
The vendor,
is it vendor agnostic usually, or is it vendor showcase?
I really don't know. I mean, the reason this one wasn't vendor agnostic is because I'm part of the DFW VMUG, and I went to a VMUG VMworld, and we were just trying, as a user group, we wanted to get the feel of a hackathon, and so I'm sure there are vendor agnostic stuff, and I'm sure there's vendor dedicated stuff. So I'm sure that, you know, like if you go to AWS, it's going to be on AWS. If it's Red Hat, it's going to be on Red Hat. If it's Google, it's going to be Google. So I would say, since they are the sponsors, it probably won't be vendor agnostic. So maybe if it's at a university and it's open season or whatever, and they have different projects, and they're able to get the different resources for that. I mean, like, I don't know if they want to have like a bake-off between, you know, Google Cloud, VMware Cloud, and AWS or something, and each one had their own project. It was a similar project, but doing it on the different platforms. I mean, that's something that somebody could do, right? But I haven't heard them do that, so. I mean, I don't know if I answered your question, but you know, I would say most of the time it would be vendor agnostic, unless it would be an educational type of institution, right? So that's it. And like I said, I'm new to these things, and you know, I mean, the VMworld is in August, and then I did this hackathon in December, and we plan on doing at least one or two this year also. And if you guys want to come over to the VMware Users Group, you know, you're more welcome to check that out also. Like I said, we're at vmug.com/DFW, and you know, we do all kinds of stuff, and we have different technologies that do play with VMware, but you know, so I mean, I invited Red Hat to come out, and they refused because they said they were competitors. But you know, we've had you know, other vendors come out, and they don't consider themselves competitor, or they do, but you know, the frenemies or whatever you want to call it, right? So it just depends on who you talk to.
I just want to make a comment to answer the question, because I've been involved in 2 other hackathons that were not vendor-based. In one case, it was a group of programmers getting together to develop something for charity. And it was like, we're giving you a 501c, we're going to help them develop their website. We're going to help develop this thing. And so they got together and did that, and that was kind of their goal, and the sponsors were charitable donations of food and drinks to do that. The other one that I see most commonly are almost always university-based programs or high school-based programs to try to encourage people to learn. That's usually the involvement I've done in that is on the mentor side, right? Help them learn and stuff. But there are some occasional hackathons that they're putting together to try to achieve some outcome. But usually those are the 2-day ones. You know, they'll put everyone together in a room until they get the outcome for the charity that they're trying to produce. So
Yeah, and at those events, I mean, people are sleeping under tables with their sleeping bags or whatever. I mean, it's a.
yeah, it starts to look like a dirty apple, and you know, everyone's sleeping under chairs and stuff. It gets weird.
So yeah. So any other questions? Thanks for that. That was good. I mean, like I said, I'm new to this stuff, so we didn't know, but that's a great example.
So how many people again did you have at the event, and what was your most successful tactic for attracting attendees?
The thing is, I think the thing that killed us, that we moved our dates 3 times, right? Because of the issues that we had, and then the other thing is trying to work that in between the holidays, also, you know, with Thanksgiving and Christmas, and so, you know, there was a couple of challenges there, and what I'm saying is, just be consistent or persistent, and things will happen. And we didn't get 20 there, but we did get 10. We had half of them there. The thing is, you know, other people had plans already to do something else, right? So we couldn't do that. But for me, I was happy and successful. For me, it was successful because the participants there. We had a V beers, because that's another thing that we do at VMUG, is we have what we call V beers. It's basically, we have V beers and V socials, so they're kind of similar, but we had this one was actually V social. We did it because what we're trying to do now is reach out to the Metroplex. So this one was in Arlington, and we had like 3 of the guys who went to the hackathon. They were there, and they were very happy, and they were talking it up. So to me, that's successful. If it's just one person learns something new and they're happy about it, and it's helping them and it adds value to them, then we're successful.
Cool.
So, thank you.
One thing, I just want to add a comment if I may. One thing that's really cool, and it's not, you don't necessarily have to join the VMware Code Slack, but if you do join a community like that, it's different than SpiceWorks. You know, you got direct message access to people who are coding all the time, where you can go in and pick brains. You know, Michael, you said you want to learn PowerShell. Join. You know, go. The SpiceWorks forums are great for PowerShell stuff, but some of these smaller communities for very specific languages or very specific technologies may be better suited to get your questions and whatnot in front of people who are coding a lot and can help you get started. At least that's what I found.
Well, I don't want to take too much of your time, because I think we have another speaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can speak.
I don't want to steal all your thunder here, right? But thank you. If you have any questions, you can find me, like I said, on the Twitters at W Michel, or you can go to my blog. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to start up a hackathon, want to pick my brain or whatever. But like I said, you don't have to be a developer. All you got to do is be passionate about what you're trying to do and have fun, right? Those 3 things, right? You gotta, you know, have fun and learn, and then build cool stuff. All right.